The third process of the build, acquire and implement domain, called Manage Solutions Identification and Build, has 11 practices. The second practice is to design detailed solution components. From a RACI charts perspective, the entities that are held responsible are the business process owners and the project management office. The entity that is held accountable is the head of IT development. The practice receives several inputs that include the solution development guidance from the BAI03 process, the requirements definition repository from the BAI02 process, and the feasibility study report from the BAI02 process as well. It generates two outputs, which are the approved detailed design specification to be used by the BAI4 and 5 processes, and the service level agreement revisions to be used by the BAI09 and BAI4 processes. The activities involved in this practice include designing the business activities that need to be performed along with the new proposed solution to best fulfill the enterprise needs. If the new solution is an application, then the transaction types and business processing rules should be defined, along with the controls, data objects, interfaces, and any other regulatory requirements. The data inputs and output sources, collection design, and storage should be specified, and the system interfaces should be designed, including how the data will be exchanged. User interfaces should be easy to use, and system redundancy and recovery should be defined. The design should be constantly evaluated to detect any weaknesses, and to identify improvements when required. The third practice is to develop solution components. The entities responsible for this practice are the business process owners and the project management office. The entity that is held accountable is the IT development head. The practice receives two inputs, which are the feasibility study report and the approval of requirements, both from the BAI02 process. It generates one output, which is the documented solution components to be used by the BAI4, 5, and 8 processes. The activities involved in this practice include developing processes, services, applications, and infrastructure based on the agreed-on specifications and requirements. All the solution components should be documented, and version control should be maintained. If third parties are involved, support and maintenance activities should be addressed in the contracts. All changes should be tracked, and quality reviews should be performed. The configuration and customization impact on the performance of the solution should be assessed, along with the solution's interoperability with the existing applications and infrastructure. The fourth practice is to procure solution components. The entities responsible for this practice include the business process owners, the head of IT development, and the head of IT administration. The entity held accountable is the Chief Information Officer. The practice receives one input, which is the approval of requirements from the BAI02 process, and it generates two outputs, which are the approved acquisition plan to be used by the BAI10 process, and the updates to asset inventory to be used by the BAI9 process. The activities involved in this practice include creating the solution acquisition plan, which should consider future requirements for capacity, cost, and risk. The plan should be reviewed and approved, and should comply with the enterprise standards. All the infrastructure and application acquisitions should be recorded in the asset inventory.